Over 20 years since their introduction, we've finally seen the Gorosei participating in combat on Egghead Island. Their abilities, however, go against many of the established rules of the One Piece world. This opens a whole can of worms on what the Gorosei actually are for them to be so different. As weird as it may sound, if the Five Elders break so many rules of the One Piece world, could it be possible that they're actually not from there? Although it might seem far-fetched, there are genuine hints in the story indicating that the Elders may in fact originate from Hell itself. This video will go over the possible existence of Hell in One Piece, how it could be connected to Imu's Devil Fruit, and how all of this could explain the true nature of the Gorosei. To address the big question right away, yes, Hell is very much a place that can exist in the One Piece story. In fact, Hell as a concept is something that is frequently brought up by the characters. Just to go over a few examples, Usopp brought up Hell when giving his speech to Luffy at the end of Enies Lobby. Sanji also said that being in the Kamapaka Kingdom was like being in Hell, and later named his new attack Hell's Memories. Doflamingo said that he experienced Hell as a child when his family was persecuted. Vito also mentioned that even the demons of Hell attend Big Mom's tea parties. The characters here clearly use Hell as a metaphor, not an actual place they think exists. Still, just like Sky Islands or the One Piece treasure itself, many things in the story that are initially thought to be myth or legend later turn out to be actually real. The aforementioned examples are also just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Hell being brought up in the story. In just the Wano arc alone, there's at least half a dozen times when the characters mention Hell. While Hell is a concept consistently present in the story, the fact that characters keep bringing it up actually has more importance than just foreshadowing. The reason for this is that Hell being a place the people of the One Piece world think about inadvertently means that it can exist. This is because during the Egghead arc, the story finally revealed a theory on where devil fruits come from. According to Vegapunk, devil fruits are born out of people's dreams. In other words, this means that anything that people dream of can later become a devil fruit in the actual One Piece world. This explains how all manner of seemingly impossible things like zombies, dragons and rubber humans can exist in the story through devil fruits, as they're all things that can be thought of by people's imagination. This actually goes back to a concept brought up in the early parts of the story, where the Chaya arc is started off with the quote, "Anything man can imagine is a possibility in reality." Because the people living in the One Piece world seem to very much imagine a place like Hell, it opens the door for a Hell fruit actually existing in the One Piece story. If Hell were to be an actual place in the One Piece world, however, what would that actually mean? While places like Kamapaka Kingdom and Impel Town have been referred to as Hell, they're clearly different from the literal Hell characters often talk about. The idea this video is going to go off on is that if Hell is actually real, it could be located in a different dimension of the One Piece universe. While this may sound like a dose of bad fanfiction, it has actually already been confirmed that there are multiple subdimensions in the One Piece universe. The dimensions that have so far appeared in the story are the Door Dimension and the Mirror Dimension, both of which are accessed through Devil Fruit abilities. The Door Dimension is accessed by Blueno using the Doa Doa no Mi. Blueno is essentially able to use his fruit as a teleporter to travel in and out of the Door Dimension. The Door Dimension itself is seemingly a parallel version of the One Piece world. We saw this when Blueno escaped there during his fight with Luffy, where the environment looked very much like the real Enies Lobby, only without any of the characters. The Mirror Dimension on the other hand is accessed by Brulee's Devil Fruit through the use of mirrors in the normal world. Unlike the Door Dimension, the Mirror Dimension is its own unique world made up of an endless array of tiles, and mirrors that lead back to the normal world. It is unclear whether these dimensions are the creations of said Devil Fruits users, or whether the dimensions have always been there and are simply accessed by the users. It could actually very well be the latter, as the Big Mom pirates refer to Brulee as the key to the mirror world. As dimensions are an established concept in the One Piece story, theoretically, a potential Hell fruit could exist and work very much the same way the Door and the Mirror fruits do, where it could give the user access to another world known as Hell. To go a step further with this idea, what if, of all the characters, this was actually Imu's Devil Fruit? And what if the Gorosei were originally beings who lived in Hell, and Imu, with the power of the Hell fruit, brought them to the normal world? As brought up at the start, the Five Elders are extremely different from the thousands of other characters seen so far in the manga. The reason why they are so different could all however make sense if the Gorosei are members of a completely different race. And as their abilities don't seem to fit any of the known One Piece races, it could actually make sense that the Elders are not only from a different race, but also from a different world. The video will next address why this could actually be true, and why the Gorosei's abilities cannot be explained as simply being related to Devil Fruits, Haki, or other known power systems in the story. While One Piece is an extremely fantastical story, everything supernatural in the manga follows a strict set of rules. In essence, whenever the story introduces a character with apparent supernatural abilities, there are usually a maximum of 5 explanations behind them. The first and by far the most common is devil fruits. Devil fruits in One Piece are an extremely heterogeneous source of power, and, as brought up before, are the reason why things like talking reindeer, flying islands, and living toys can exist. The rules with devil fruits are also very simple, where there can only be one of each fruit in existence at the same time and one person can only ever eat one fruit. The second most common explanation for supernatural phenomena in One Piece is Haki, which is an ability that can be accessed by any living being. Haki is far more restricted than devil fruits, but it also offers more universal abilities, such as precognition and invisible armor. This for example explains how someone like Rayleigh is able to kick a man made out of light, or how the likes of Katakuri and Luffy are able to see into the literal future. The third most common source of supernatural abilities are connected to the race of the character. Many of the different races in One Piece for example give their members an innate ability to manipulate different elements. The race of fishmen are able to manipulate water, the race of minks electricity, and the race of Lunarians fire. Other race-based features include things such as superhuman strength, gigantic proportions, and flight. The fourth reason for seemingly otherworldly abilities in One Piece is technology, which can for example be used to artificially recreate many of the previously mentioned abilities. Technology is for example why the Seraphim are able to simultaneously have devil fruit abilities, as well as features of races such as the Giants and the Lunarians. The fifth and most mundane reason is simple raw physical power. One Piece is an innately supernatural world, where, in theory, anyone is able to perform superhuman physical feats, such as walking on air or destroying a fortress with one punch. There are also more bizarre examples, such as Sanji kicking Duval a new face, or Denjiro changing his entire appearance through sheer rage. While I'm aware that there are certain abilities in One Piece that go beyond them, 99% of supernatural phenomena in the series is generally explained by one or more of these 5 categories. A frequent thing that actually happens in One Piece is that the Straw Hats encounter something very supernatural, only for it to be later explained by one or more of these 5 sets of power. Someone like Enel first appeared to be an omnipresent god, able to strike down anyone who spoke ill of him with thunder. In actuality, Enel was simply using his lightning devil fruit in conjunction with very powerful observation Haki to listen in on everyone in Skypiea, and striking them down if they spoke against him, creating the illusion that he was a god. This smoke and mirrors concept is present in practically every arc of One Piece. Shanks scaring off the Lord of the Coast through his presence in Chapter 1 is later explained to be because of his conqueror's Haki. Frankie is able to breathe fire without having a devil fruit because he is in fact a cyborg. Kawamatsu is thought to be a demon kappa by the people of Wano, though it's later revealed that he is simply a fishman. Even a wonderland-like country such as Totland, where animals speak, the buildings are made of food, and prisoners are held in giant books, is only revealed to be the product of the Big Mom Pirates' different devil fruit powers. When it comes to the Gorosei, however, they seemingly break all of these rules. So far, the supernatural abilities displayed by the 5 elders include regeneration from all damage, telepathic communication between the elders, mutual teleportation across the world, being able to turn into gigantic beasts, telekinetically restraining and killing people, and seemingly not aging. It is genuinely impossible for all of this to be explained by either devil fruits or Haki alone. I will begin by going over how the Gorosei's powers have to be more than simple products of devil fruit abilities. As brought up before, a devil fruit only grants one user one set of abilities. However, the 5 elders seemingly all share many of their abilities, such as regeneration and telepathy. We can also confirm that each of the Gorosei has at maximum eaten one devil fruit. This is because after the Marineford arc, the Gorosei quite literally mentioned that Blackbeard is the only person in history who has eaten more than one devil fruit. It also appears very likely that the Gorosei's respective devil fruits are in fact all Zoan types that are represented by their beast forms. The reason why this aspect of their power can be excluded as being devil fruit related is because of the visual appearance of the Gorosei's beast forms. Each elder has their beast form surrounded by rings of smoke. This is a visual element that has been present in many Zoan type devil fruits in the story, such as in Luffy's, Lucci's, and Kaku's fruits. The fact that the rings of smoke only appear around the Gorosei when they transform makes it very likely that they are in fact all Zoans. Further evidence includes both Saint Saturn and Venus Juror displaying what very much appear to be Zoan hybrid forms in addition to their beast forms. This however brings up more questions than answers. If the Gorosei all have their unique Zoan abilities, what is the explanation behind all of their shared abilities? One possibility is that these are all abilities granted to them by other devil fruit users. While devil fruits generally only grant power to their respective users, there are a few fruits in the series that can also empower other characters. For example, Bello Betty, the East Army commander of the Revolutionary Army, is able to make other people physically stronger with her Gobu Gobu no Mi. Another example would be Charlotte Nushi, whose devil devil fruit allows others to fuse with him. Then there is perhaps the most interesting example, which is the Ope Ope no Mi, which has the ability to grant another person immortality through the eternal youth surgery. Despite these examples, however, they are also likely not the reason behind the Gorosei's powers. One major difference between the Gorosei and the prior examples is that the Gorosei are seemingly in full control of their powers. While someone like Bello Petty can increase the power of another person, this person cannot replicate what Bello Petty does and give power to others. This also applies to all other such examples in the story, where power that can be granted to others via devil fruits is only ever a temporary boost, not an entirely new ability. This is in complete contrast to the Gorosei, where someone like Saint Saturn is able to independently do things like summon the other elders from Rejoice to Egghead or talk to them through telepathy. It should also be addressed that the Gorosei have likely also not received the Ope Ope no Mi's eternal youth surgery. One hint of this is that these 5 elders are very likely not the first 5 elders. When the Gorosei discuss the Nika fruit, they talk about the world government before their time being the ones who renamed the fruit to the Gomu Gomu no Mi, even referring to the matter as being legend. While the Gorosei are clearly very old, as, for example, Saint Saturn looked exactly the same 38 years ago as he does now, they are probably more similar to someone like Dr. Kureiha, where they simply have longevity far beyond regular humans. A further hint that the elders are not immortal is that they are public figures known by the people living in the One Piece world. Because of this, they can't have been in power for centuries on end without raising suspicion. Ivankov actually inadvertently confirms this when he first hears about the existence of Imu from Sabo. Ivankov treats the idea of the world being ruled by an immortal being as a hypothesis. It would make no sense for Ivankov to be surprised by the idea if it was already public knowledge that Saint Saturn, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Juro and Jupiter have been ruling the world for centuries. Furthermore, even if the elders had actually gone through the immortal youth surgery, the surgery is only said to give the recipient eternal life. There is however clearly something far more going on with the Gorosei, as their form of immortality seems to involve them regenerating from all manner of attacks. To summarize all of the evidence so far, the Gorosei's beast forms are more than likely simply their Zoan forms because of the visual similarities between them and the other Zoans. Their other abilities are however very likely not devil fruit powers, whether this be powers granted by their own fruits or powers given to them by another devil fruit user. Now that we've addressed why the Gorosei's powers cannot be explained by devil fruits, they can also be very easily dismissed to not be Haki either. The concept of Haki revolving around armament, observation and conquerors does not exactly leave room for powers like teleportation and regeneration. It is also very unlikely for there to be a facet of Haki outside these 3 core abilities. This is because the explanation the readers are given about Haki comes from Silver's Rayleigh, a character who's learned the true history and seemingly knows all of the secrets of the One Piece world. While the Gorosei's powers are likely not the product of devil fruits and Haki, we can also dismiss them as being because of technology or physical prowess as well. Even though the Gorosei likely have great physical strength, like Haki, it also does not explain their previously mentioned otherworldly abilities. While One Piece characters are able to move great distances and even fly with pure strength, no physical feat in the series has come close to something like the Gorosei instantly moving all the way from the Holy Land to Egghead. This is not even mentioning the more bizarre powers of the elders, such as telepathy. It can also be pretty much confirmed that technology is also not the reason for these powers. While someone like Saint Saturn is confirmed to be a scientist, him and the rest of the elders are seemingly very reliant on Vegapunk for much of the government's scientific advancement. If they were actually by themselves able to create things such as worldwide teleportation and communication, one starts to question why they were so reliant on a loose cannon like Vegapunk in the first place. For reference, Vegapunk even before the Egghead arc was not exactly someone devoted to the world government. Before working for them, Vegapunk was literally a rogue scientist employed by the underworld. Even after Vegapunk was recruited by the government, he also still protested many of their decisions, such as the Ohara incident or the experiments they did on Kuma. If the Gorosei were already in possession of technology even beyond what Vegapunk was able to make, it would make little sense why they were willing to put so much trust and money in someone as unreliable as him, meaning the Elder's powers are probably not based on technology either. This finally leads us to the last major source of power in the One Piece world, which are the innate abilities granted by one's race. This is arguably the most likely explanation for the Gorosei's power, as race-based abilities can grant the person multiple supernatural abilities at once, just like the Gorosei have demonstrated. This could also help explain why the Gorosei don't seem to age at the same rate as regular humans, as other races in the One Piece world, such as the Giants, have been shown to live far longer than normal humans. We can also already confirm that the 5 Elders are not any sort of artificial beings, such as robots or the undead. When giving his explanation about Haki, Rayleigh says that this is an ability that only living beings are able to use. As all the Gorosei are seemingly Haki users, this also means that all of them are alive. This is further proven by the fact that despite their supernatural powers, the Gorosei apparently still still have to consume food like all living beings in One Piece. The 5 Elders' powers being derived from their race would actually be in line with how past characters who've seemingly broken the One Piece power system have been explained. As an example, during the Wano arc, King the Wildfire was revealed to have the ancient Swamp Pteranodon Devil Fruit. However, King also possessed other abilities not derived from his Devil Fruit, such as fire manipulation, invulnerability, and wings. These are all later revealed to be because King is a member of the Lunarian race. The problem with the Gorosei is that their abilities don't seem to align with any of the known races of the One Piece world. This is quite literally stated by Brocky when he fights them on Egghead Island, where he says that the Elders' abilities are beyond any races or powers he's ever seen. Keeping in mind, Brocky is 160 years old and has sailed all around the world. Based on the information given during the Whole Cake Island arc, all the known races of the One Piece world were shown in Totland, with the exception of the Giants, Lunarians, and Buccaneers. Yet, as alluded to before, the Gorosei possess abilities that don't seem to fit any of these known races. The Gorosei also view themselves as separate beings from the rest of the world. When talking to normal humans, Saturn very much considers himself not to be a member of their race, seeing humans as mere insects. While this is how the Celestial Dragons generally view the world, the Gorosei could go a step further, where unlike the other Celestial Dragons, they're literally not humans. A possible hint of this comes from Sanji, where after seeing Saint Saturn's transformation, he says that he looks less and less human. Sanji is someone who throughout the story has fought and encountered several Zoan-type Devil Fruit users, yet he's never described any of them as looking inhuman. Sanji also makes note of Saturn's eyes looking bizarre. While certain Zoans in the story have their eyes changed when they transform, what's noteworthy here is that all of the 5 Elders have this same eye design, which could be another indicator of race rather than Devil Fruit power. I will also grant that it's possible that, despite the aforementioned evidence, the Gorosei are not Zoan users and these transformations are actually their natural forms. This would for example be backed up by chapter 1110, where the Gorosei's beast forms are named without the usual type and model of a Zoan Devil Fruit. Another indicator that something special is going on with the Gorosei is that Luffy's Red Rock was unable to hurt Valkyrie. For context, the Red Rock is an ability Luffy developed on Wano to fight Kaido, where it utilizes armament haki in a way to do internal damage. Theoretically, it is an attack that should be able to bypass any form of external defense, yet it was still unable to damage Valkyrie, perhaps indicating that him and the other Gorosei are more than just Zoans. One final piece of evidence that points to the Gorosei being members of another race is that Imu does not actually share their mutual supernatural powers. This is actually a very important point that tells us a lot about Imu. When the Gorosei talk to each other through a significant distance, they use the aforementioned telepathic means of communication. However, as we see during Savo's Reverie flashback, when the Gorosei talk to Imu, they instead use a Denden Mushi. This very much indicates that the Gorosei's power exists separate from even Imu, and that Imu does not share their telepathy, or potentially any of their other special abilities. This is a further piece of evidence that the Elders belong to a different race from even Imu. As Ivankov says, Imu could well be one of the original 20 kings who established the world government, who's found a way to be immortal. If this is true, whatever the Gorosei are, Imu himself is very likely just a human with a Devil Fruit power. To summarize, as no other options seem to make sense, by process of elimination, the most likely explanation behind the Gorosei's special abilities is that they belong to an unknown race of being in the One Piece story. The first part of the video established that Hell can very much be a place that exists in the One Piece story. The second part established that the Gorosei are most likely members of a currently unknown race, as evidenced by their wholly unique set of abilities that cannot be explained by any other aspect of the One Piece world. This third part of the video is going to combine these two ideas, and discuss the possibility that the Gorosei come literally from Hell, and were brought from there by Imu using a Hell Devil Fruit. First of all, it was previously established that the One Piece universe holds many subdimensions such as the Door Dimension and the Mirror Dimension. What should also be brought up is that there can be living beings native to these dimensions. This is because in the mirror world, the mirrors are actual sentient beings that can tell people what they see happen in the normal world. This means that there could be other living beings existing in other dimensions of the One Piece universe. Secondly, let us establish why Hell specifically would make sense as the place where the Gorosei come from. The biggest hint of this comes from Ethan Baron Venus Churro. When Ethan attacks the Pacifista on Egghead Island, his sword actually leaves the Pacifista frozen. This is extremely similar to an ability used by Brook, which Brook refers to as the chills of the underworld. To make it clear, ice is actually an extremely rare ability in One Piece. For the longest time, excluding Brook, the only character who was able to manipulate ice was Aokichi, who has eaten the literal ice devil fruit. Ice manipulation is so rare in fact, that when Blackbeard sees his crew frozen in chapter 1081, He thinks that Aokichi is the only person in the world who could do such a thing. If Ethan does in fact have the Bagotsu Zoan fruit, then nothing about said creature suggests that it should grant Ethan ice powers. It could very well be that both Brook and Ethan are using the same ability here. If Hell is an actual place in One Piece where souls go after death, it could be that someone like Brook is able to access some of Hell's powers. The Gorosei being possible natives of Hell could help explain all manner of their abilities. To begin with, summoning circles created by the Gorosei actually have a very satanic aesthetic to them. Within the circle, there is a symbol of a 5-pointed star, also known as a pentagram. In the real world, a pentagram is often associated with Hell and Satan. For example, the official emblem of the real-life Church of Satan is a pentagram within a black circle, which is eerily similar to the Gorosei summoning circles. This connection to Satanism goes even further, as another way to translate the word Gorosei from Japanese to English is the 5 elder stars. Satan is actually an established figure in the One Piece world, as when Brook is captured by cultists before the time skip, they refer to him as Lord Satan. Just like Hell itself, it could be that this is another facet of the One Piece world that the people believe to be myth but is actually real. Further hellish motives around the Gorosei include Saturn's hat protruding literal horns when he transforms, and most of the Gorosei's Zoan devil fruits being based on what could be described as demonic creatures. As mentioned before, the idea this video is presenting is that Imu brought the Gorosei to the regular world from Hell with the Hell fruit. The Hell fruit could work the same way as the Door fruit or the Mirror fruit, where it would essentially make the user the key to said world. One might bring up that we saw Imu transform into a gigantic creature during the Sabo's flashback, which would be more akin to a Zoan fruit, rather than a paramecia like the Door fruit. This is a fair point, but does not make it impossible for Imu to have a fruit that grants him access to Hell. Other mythical Zoan fruits that change the user's appearance also allow the user access to other abilities. Katarina Devon has the 9-tailed fox fruit, which allows her to both change into said fox, as well as giving her the ability to transform into other people. Luffy's fruit when awakened also transforms into the Sun God, while also granting him abilities such as turning the environment into rubber. On paper, Imu could have something like a mythical Zoan Satan fruit. As addressed before, Satan is an actual figure the One Piece world believes in, which could also mean that there's a Satan devil fruit. With this fruit, Imu could have the power to both transform into Satan and to summon beings from Hell. This is however just one idea. It is still also possible for Imu to have a paramecia Hell fruit. Even though Imu transformed into a gigantic beast, this wouldn't be the first time a paramecia fruit allowed its user to significantly alter their real appearance. If Imu is someone who's multiple times visited Hell, and if the Gorosei actually originate from there, this could actually explain a lot about the world government. For example, the government's underwater prison, Impel Down, not only incarcerates its prisoners, but also commits to torturing them, just like people who are sent to Hell would be. Many of the prison staff also wear demonic attire such as horns and pitchforks. Impel Down has also literally been referred to as being Hell, and the former warden Magellan has also been called the boss of Hell. The prison itself is structured around 6 levels that are named after different hells. With regards to the topic of this video, perhaps the most interesting of these is level 5, the freezing hell. This level is completely frozen, and the prisoners held there are exposed to things like hypothermia and frostbite. The level could be a reference to the aforementioned chills of the underworld used by Brook and possibly Venus Churro, perhaps further indicating that the real hell in One Piece is also a very cold place. If Impel Down is in fact based on actual hell, it could also serve as foreshadowing of what Imu could perhaps do with a hell fruit. In a sense, the fruit could allow Imu to manipulate several already seen Logia abilities such as ice, forest, drought, and fire. The last one could also explain why Imu was seemingly unaffected by Sabo's fire fist. Another thing worth considering is also that the Gorosei are not the only beings Imu has brought from Hell. During the reverie, we see that Imu has an attendant who informs him of the Gorosei's arrival to the throne room. Considering that Imu is willing to destroy entire countries to make sure that his existence remains hidden, it can be safely assumed that all the characters he allows into his confidence are in the top echelons of the world government. One other character that could be in Imu's inner circle is an older man who oversees the empty throne. The man also bears a striking resemblance to Saint Mars. However, what's noteworthy about these attendants as well as the Gorosei themselves is that they all look physically human. This seems to argue against the point of them being members of another race, let alone them originating from Hell itself. This could however all simply be a facade. It is actually possible that the Gorosei did not always look like humans, and were simply made to look like that by Imu. As Imu wants the Gorosei to serve as the public rulers of the world in his stead, he would need them to look like regular humans so as to not give away their secret. This is actually something the world government could have achieved through a known devil fruit in the story. The Mane no Mi is a fruit that's been seen being used by both Bon Clay and Kurosumi Higurashi in the manga. The fruit gives the user the ability to change change into whoever they've touched. In theory, an awakened user of this fruit could potentially change the appearances of other people. This is because paramecia awakenings often allow devil fruit powers to affect both the environment and other people. We saw this for example during the Wano arc, with instances such as Kid turning Big Mom into a magnet or Luffy turning Kaido into rubber. It could be that the government once had an awakened devil fruit user with the Mane no Mi whose job was to change the Gorosei to look like humans. This could be another explanation for why the Gorosei don't seem to age, as the Mane no Mi could have given them permanent human forms that do not change on the outside. To take this theory a bit further, what if Imu actually stole the Gorosei's human appearances from the Celestial Dragons? While the Gorosei are presented as members of the Celestial Dragons with human appearances and faces, all of this could just be another one of Imu's lies. The reason why this is so interesting is because it could very well fit Imu's character to not actually trust the Celestial Dragons. The world government was founded by the 20 kings whose descendants are now the Celestial Dragons. Imu clearly had a problem with this kind of sharing of power, as he wanted to be the sole king of the world. In a sense, it could be that Imu doesn't see the other kings and their descendants as allies but as rivals to his power. Most of the current day Celestial Dragons are also clearly not even aware that Imu exists, believing that their fellow Celestial Dragons, the Gorosei, are the ones who rule the world. Imu could however simply be playing the Celestial Dragons. To give the Celestial Dragons the illusion of power, Imu could have selected a few of their members as the public rulers of the world, the 5 elders. In actuality, however, Imu could have simply stolen the names and faces of these Celestial Dragons and given them to his personal demons. While pure speculation, it could be that the Gorosei we've seen so far are all imposters, and that the real saints Jupiter, Venus Churro, Mars, Mercury and Saturn are either dead or imprisoned somewhere. As the Gorosei say that the world government has existed before them, it could be that this is a process Imu has done many times in the past, by having his minions from Hell assume the identities of reputable Celestial Dragons. While this is just an idea, it would certainly be consistent with both Imu's past of stealing power from the Celestial Dragons as well as his borderline insane distrust of anyone outside his inner circle. To summarize the points brought up in this video so far, it was first established that Hell can very much be a place that can actually exist in the One Piece story, potentially in a pocket dimension like the Door Dimension or the Mirror Dimension. After this, the video went over how the Gorosei being creatures from Hell could actually fit in the story and explain all of their abnormal powers. Finally, it was established how Imu could have achieved all of this by bringing the Gorosei over from Hell with his devil fruit, and making them steal the identities of Celestial Dragons to serve as the public rulers of the world government. Personally, I think this could be a very interesting idea if used in the actual story. The idea from this video mainly came from Vegapunk's explanation of where devil fruits come from. Personally, I think Vegapunk's explanation offered a bunch of interesting ideas on the different devil fruits that could later appear in the story like the Hell fruit. In fact, I have a whole other video on this channel discussing how a literal Christ devil fruit could actually exist in One Piece, and why it could be the most powerful devil fruit in the entire story. If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance that you'll also like that one. Thanks for watching the video to the end.